Hello again. Welcome back to the JMC reviews, and let's welcome back one of my most reoccurring co-reviewers, Guy.
Hi, I'm Marlon Crawford.
And today we are going to be reviewing the very first film ever directed by John Carpenter. And also one of the very first films written by Daniel Bannon, best known as the co-writer of the original Alien and the director of the 1980s cult horror comedy The Return of the Living Dead. This is Dark Star. And just so there's no confusion, John Carpenter and Daniel Bannon co-wrote this film together. This was originally a student film they were making when they were students at USC, and their production eventually reached the attention of Jack H. Harris, who I mentioned back in my Schlock review is the producer of the original The Blob from the 50s, who also done some kind of producing and distributing with Schlock, and he was impressed with their little student film and got them to expand it, add a couple of new scenes to make it feature length, and then he distributed it, and it wasn't a huge hit or anything, but it's gotten a lot of praise and attention over the years, mostly from being Carpenter's first film. I first heard about it myself when I had this book many years ago called 501 Must-See Movies, and it was in there under the sci-fi section, and I saw it out, got it, and it was, I believe, the first of Carpenter's films I saw that just starred my love for the man's work. And first saw it in around 13, and I was allowed to watch it at my old middle school, watch it with my tutor I had at the time, and although I didn't get to show the whole thing, I got to show a good chunk of it to a few kids back then, and for the most part, people seemed to enjoy it.
Continued to deteriorate. Oh yeah. The short circuit in the rear seat panel which killed Commander Powell is still faulty. The storage. Because he's sitting next to Commander Powell's seat, it continues to bother Tim back. Oh yeah. Storage Area 9 self-destructed last week and destroyed the ship's entire supply of toilet paper.
What did you think of it, Guy?
Well, unlike Jacob, I've only seen it recently, and it is a comedy. It's a comedy that's written in slow time. It kind of creeps up on you. The humor, it grows, and it's very little action kind of humor, but it takes a very close look at technology from the time, and it was a wonderful parody on a lot of stuff, and there was some political and social comment mixed in lately too. It was a lot of fun.
The main plot of this movie is that it's about 4 astronauts who are aboard a ship called Dark Star. They travel through space, and their mission is to find unstable planets that are eventually gonna melt down, crash into the sun, possibly cause a chain reaction, and just blow it up to get it out of the way. They've been doing this mission for about 20 years, and the main theme is they are bored out of their fucking minds.
What's Calvin's first name?
They're beyond being bored. They are getting irrational and delusional. But it's done very well, and it's very funny. Just one point. It isn't necessarily planets are going to crash into our sun. They're going to crash into their sun, a star.
The other suns and the other solar systems.
And maybe create black holes, which at that point were thought to be bad.
Definite 99% plus probability that the planet will deviate from her normal orbit in another 12,000 rotations. It'll spiral in towards the sun and eventual supernova. Sounds good. Let's make right.
Throughout the film, these characters, who are known as Lieutenant Doolittle, played by Brian Nerell, Boiler, played by Cal Cunningham, who sadly passed away in 2008, and this was his only acting credit ever, apparently. Hey, if you're gonna be known for one thing, might as well be the first film by John Carpenter. And Talby, played by Dre Pike, Phich. He was apparently a foreign actor. And Sergeant Pinback, played by the film's co-writer himself, Dan O'Bannon. Throughout the film, these guys, the way they act, this is a comedy, but there's also some doses of seriousness in there, mainly just showing how depressing and life-sucking this mission has been for them.
I used to surf a lot, Talby. I used to be a great surfer. The waves at Malibu and Zuma are so fantastic in the spring, Talby. I can remember running down on the beach in those early spring mornings with my surfboard and my wetsuit. The waves would really be peaking, high and classy. Hit that water. Before you know it, you're coming down right up one of those walls. You just ride perfect.
And it was the funny representation of the quarters on the ship and the working conditions and how things are breaking down, and they're beyond worried about that sort of thing. But the introduction sequence, the reply message they got from Earth, from the controlling people, from the government, somebody in a military uniform, was hilarious.
Hi, guys. Glad we got your message. You'll be interested to hear it was broadcast live all over Earth, prime time. Got good reviews in the trades. The time lag on these messages is getting longer. We gather from the 10-year delay that you are approximately 18 parsecs away. Drop us a line more often, okay?
You're doing a good job. Keep it up.
And by the way, your request for radiation shielding has been denied, but I know you'll take it in the correct spirit and continue on, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Sort of stuff.
About your request for radiation shielding, sorry to report this request has been denied. I hate to send bad news when you guys are up there doing such a swell job, but I think you'll take it in the proper spirit. There have been some cutbacks in Congress, and right now, considering the distance, we just can't afford to send a cargo shuttle out there to you. But I know you guys will make do.
And the guy just sounds so devoid. You can tell that guy giving them the message doesn't, like, all he cares about is their mission, not really how they're doing mentally. Going, sorry to hear about the death of your commander. There was a week of mourning here on Earth. The flags were half-mast. Keep up the good work.
Sorry to hear about the radiation leak on the ship. And real sorry to hear about the death of Commander Powell. There was a week of mourning here on Earth. The flags were at half-mast. Keep up the good work, men.
That opening is a little funny, a little grim, but the comedy really, I think, kicks in when we are introduced to the first bomb.
Yes, the first bomb. Talk to the bomb, send it off, and eliminate a dangerous planet.
The bombs in this movie that they have on their ship to blow up the unstable planets, it's not explained why. You can just assume this is something that came with the future in this movie's universe. But the bombs can talk.
Sergeant Pinback calling bomb number 19. Do you read me, bomb?
Bomb number 19 to Sergeant Pinback. I read you. Continue.
Well, bomb, we have about 60 seconds to drop. Just wondering if everything's all right. You checked your flattening gradient energy shielding?
Energy shielding positive function.
Arm yourself, bomb.
Arm.
I think it's, you would have to think it's just a tracking code or a way of communicating. So you don't have to be a great scientist to be able to get the understanding that the bomb is ready to go.
You wouldn't happen to know when you're supposed to go off, would you?
Detonation in 6 minutes, 20 seconds.
All right, that checks out here. Drop me off in about 35 seconds. Good luck.
Fine.
The plot then has them, as they're going to their next planet to blow up, they pass through an electric magnetic asteroid storm, and while they take the necessary precautions, the ship is hit and a malfunction is triggered with their latest bomb.
Computer to bomb number 20. Return to the bomb bay immediately.
But I have received the operational signal.
And as the film goes on, a bunch of other shit happens, which further hurts their ship. And when it comes time to drop the bomb number 20, the bomb believes, I think, that the lock's been undone, but it's not leaving the ship.
3, 2, 1, drop. Negative drop.
Just sitting there in the bomb bay. Try to get me back.
3, 2, 1, drop.
Negative drop.
3, 2, 1, drop.
Drop.
Sitting there. The damn thing's just sitting there.
14 minutes. So now the final act of the film is about them struggling to figure out how to stop it from blowing up or to leave the ship, just mayhem, and these guys who were already on edge throughout the whole film are just pushed to the limit, and
The humor connected with the last bomb, number 20, the last bomb that we see, perhaps there are more on board, is that it is a start and a stop twice before we get to the final, and the bomb is saying, "I'm not having any more of this. This is too confusing." And
throughout the film, it has come out twice, and the first time, the computer system, with a sexy female voice, was able to get it to come back in.
Return immediately.
Nevertheless, I have received a signal to prepare for a drop.
Emergency override. Return to the bay.
Very well.
The second time, when after it's been put out, the computer pleads with it to come back in, to which it has the snippy attitude of, "Oh, all right, but this is the last time."
Ship's computer calling bomb number 20. You're out of the bomb bay again.
I received the signal to prepare for a drop again.
But I repeat, this is not a bomb run.
Nevertheless, I received the signal.
It is an error.
Oh, I don't want to hear that.
You have definitely received a false signal. Please return to the bomb bay while I identify the source of the problem.
Oh, all right. But this is the last time.
And before we get to the final act where everything starts to go crazy, a subplot that takes up the middle part of the film is that there's apparently a pet alien on the ship that Pinback just decided one day that they should bring on board.
Sorry to interrupt your recreation, fellow, but it is time for Sergeant Pinback to feed the alien.
Oh, I don't... That...
May I remind you, Sergeant Pinback, that it was your idea in the first place to bring the alien on board.
And when Pinback has to go feed it, he just is very unenthusiastic, just being a real shit.
All right, where are you? Come on, quit playing around. Get away! Come on.
And it makes me wonder just how much of a villain is this alien, because it's clear it just wants to go.
yeah, the alien isn't tough. It's just tired of being confined. They don't abuse it, but they don't really care for it. I mean they feed it and all that, I suppose, but they don't care much for it. So the alien's kind of trapped on the ship, sort of like they are.
And this leads to the alien trying to escape, and then Pinback chasing it around for about 30 minutes, I think, just all through the ship. And so yeah, I think is worth giving the filmmakers credit for is they worked with what they had. Like this, I read that after all the student filmmaking and the extra push from Jack H. Harris, the final budget for this movie was around $60,000, which even back in the 70s was a pretty low budget. And
Yes.
and I think they did a pretty decent job of making you believe these guys are somewhat in space, despite the fact that you can tell they were filming in warehouses and certain sets. And the outside scenes of the ship are a mix of models and animation, but there's just a certain charm to it that made me believe these guys are in space more than anything I've seen of the original Star Trek has ever done.
Yes.
Anyway, the scenes of Pinback chasing the alien are a lot of fun, and this leads to the film's one of its most memorable, probably its most memorable scene, where he's stuck in the elevator shaft. What did you think of that scene?
I thought it was hilarious. I didn't understand how there was gravity pulling him down, and he was afraid he was going to fall down the elevator shaft.
Maybe the ship has a gravity function.
Must be. Space, you know. But but it was fun, and it went on and on and on. Maybe a word about what the alien actually looked like.
I've probably shown it in a clip, but the alien, if you couldn't tell, is a beach ball.
Come on, come on.
When I brought you on the ship, I thought you were cute. All right, soup's on. We didn't have none of the other stuff. Here, eat it. Eat it. Take it or leave it. Good, stop.
They
Looked like a
really had to use what they had.
like about a 3.5 foot round plastic beach ball with feet that worked as hands.
And spray painted spots all over it.
Yes. And it was very effective in giving, was it Pinback, a run for his money.
I do all the work. It's an appreciation. Get back in there. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Even though it's just a prop, the puppeteering for that beach ball of an alien was done by Nick Castle, who 4 years later would play another well-known horror villain character in a John Carpenter film, Michael Myers in Halloween.
Okay. He got his start as a beach ball. All right.
He also co-wrote Hook, for in case anyone's interested. The elevator scene is probably the most impressive scene of filmmaking in this movie. And I believe this movie is actually played in some film schools and teaching people about low-budget filmmaking.
I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know that, but I wouldn't doubt it. They did a lot with a little on this.
Jim J. Ross says that Dark Star was a film that inspired him.
Okay.
But the elevator scene, it looks like he's in a really tall shaft that goes several stories. Do you want to know how they filmed that?
So I think they filmed it not like this, but like that. But I don't know.
Correct. They filmed it horizontal, and using special camera angles, they made it look like it was vertical. And there's a few things that can let you know that it was the way it was filmed, mainly when Pinback is hanging from like a board on the edge of the wall, and it's clear he's lying on his stomach, but for the most part they did a pretty impressive job making it look like he was really high up.
Yes, they did. You do think that if he steps off, he's going down the shaft, and it's going to be deep enough to not be a good ending.
And after his debacle in the elevator shaft, he finally finds the alien and uses like a tranquilizer gun to get it, which leads to just a funny, like, self-aware moment where after he shoots the ball, it just flies everywhere.
Now it's time to go sleepy bye, you worthless piece of garbage.
He popped it.
So then it just spewed across the room like a balloon. I guess it was just filled with gas.
Hey guys, how could it be alive if it was just a big ball of gas? Dan O'Bannon, as I said earlier, he wrote Alien, and the chasing the alien subplot would later serve as the basis for his Alien script. I think he said, if I can make him laugh, I can make him scream.
Yeah, true that, yes.
And it was a hilarious part of the film, but it was also pretty well done to the point that it was a bit suspenseful.
Get out of there!
Back there.
Yeah, you didn't know where it was going, and just kind of like like the mission fell apart at the end, and that was kind of fun the way they did it.
As the bomb is refusing to leave and the clock is ticking,
This is Lieutenant Doolittle calling bomb number 20. I repeat my previous order. You are to disarm yourself and return to the bomb bay immediately. Do you understand?
I am programmed to detonate in 14 minutes, 30 seconds. Detonation will occur at the programmed time.
Lieutenant Doolittle says he's going to talk to Commander Powell, who they established many times throughout the film, died a few years ago. And at first you're not sure what he means by that. Then we see, and I guess this is just future logic, they keep Powell's body cryogenically frozen, and with a special machine they can somehow talk to his corpse. And the interactions with the dead commander are some of the funniest moments, just for how mundane and hippie the dead guy comes off.
Yeah.
Just, hey, what happened, man? How are the Dodgers?
Yeah.
Commander Powell, this is Doolittle. Something serious has come up. I have to ask you a question.
I'm glad you've come to talk with me, Doolittle. It's been so long since anyone has come to talk with me. You must tell me one thing.
What's that, sir?
Tell me, Doolittle. How are the Dodgers doing?
Well, the Dodgers, they broke up. They disbanded over 15 years ago.
Pity. Pity.
But you don't understand, sir. We can't get the bomb to drop.
So many malfunctions. Why don't you have anything nice to tell me when you activate them? Oh,
That was fun. you tell me you want me to do something, but you're not bringing me any good news. But, you know, he got better at it. He says, you have to go talk to number 20, the bomb.
You must teach it phenomenology.
You talk to it. Teach it phenomenology, Doolittle.
Sir?
Phenomenology.
He takes the advice of the dead commander, or the cryogenically saved, and goes and talks to the bomb.
And he gets all philosophical with it.
Hello, Bob? Are you with me?
Of course.
Are you willing to entertain a few concepts?
I am always receptive to suggestions.
Fine. Think about this then. How do you know you exist?
Well, of course I exist.
But how do you know you exist?
It is intuitively obvious.
Intuition is no proof. What concrete evidence do you have that you exist?
Well, I think, therefore I am.
That's good. That's very good. But how do you know that anything else exists?
These are the kind of questions that someone would use to drive a paranoid person insane.
And
Asking-
they were, you know, philosophical questions. How do you know that you really know anything when only information you get is through a stream of electronic impulses? Well, how do I know that you are? But it doesn't matter if you know I'm good or bad. You just have to doubt. So basically, it talks the bomb into not detonating.
But all you're remembering is merely a series of sensory impulses which you now realize have no real definite connection with outside reality.
True. But since this is so, I have no proof that you are really telling me all this.
I mean, the concept is valid no matter where it originates. So if you detonate in
9 seconds.
you could be doing so on the basis of false data.
I have no proof it was false data.
You have no proof it was correct data.
I must think on this further.
For a moment,
For a while, everybody goes,
there's a moment of
lights up.
relief, and you're not sure where it's going to go from here. And then Talby, who got injured earlier in the film trying to figure out the malfunction, accidentally ends up getting sucked out of the ship's airlock.
You are now leaving the emergency airlock. Thank you for observing all safety precautions.
Oh, Pinback?
What's up, Doolittle?
Talby was in the airlock. You threw him out of the ship.
And Doolittle goes after him, while Boiler and Pinback stay behind and try to get the bomb to cooperate now, but it says, "You are false data. I shall ignore you."
All right, Bomb. Prepare to receive new orders.
You are false data. Therefore, I shall ignore you.
Hello, Bomb.
False data can act only as a distraction. Therefore, I shall refuse to proceed.
Hey, Bomb.
The only thing which exists is myself.
No, help me! Calm down, I'm coming.
Snap out of it, Bomb.
Meaning, Doolittle's little pep talk worked a little too well.
And using some biblical passages right out of Genesis, changed just a little bit. The bomb has now convinced itself it is a god unto itself. And I don't have to let you tell me anything here in the darkness. And then says, let there be light.
In the beginning there was darkness, and the darkness was without form and void, and in addition to the darkness there was also me. And I moved upon the face of the darkness, and I saw that I was alone.
Hey, Bomb.
Let there be light.
and Doolittle and Talby are just blown apart, and they don't freak out at all. They just kind of accept the fact that this is it.
The bomb must have gone off inside the ship. The ship blew up? What? Funny. I thought I had the damn thing convinced.
This boiler and Pinback?
They're dead, Calvin.
And we're dead too.
You get the feeling all these guys, well, Boiler and Pinback were really freaking out, but you get the feeling all these guys, on some level, were just done with everything.
I mean, Boiler and Pinback just became crisp very quick. We didn't hear any more from them. And one guy surfed into the atmosphere of the planet they were going to blow up, and we see him get smoked. And what did Talby do? He went into the asteroid storm.
The Phoenix asteroids.
And began to glow.
The Phoenix he establishes early in the film are...
They're a body of asteroids that circle the universe once every 12.3 trillion years. From what I've heard, Doolittle, they glow. Glow with all the colors of the rainbow. Nobody knows why. They just glow as they drift around the universe.
Out of every character, I'd say Talby got the closest thing to a happy ending. Just traveling through space, glowing forever, and feeling beautiful. And Doolittle, the thing that he said he missed most in the world was the ability to surf the waves.
You know, I guess I missed the waves in my board more than anything.
So, accepting his fate, that he will fall to the planet and burn up, he grabs a piece of debris from the ship, poses surfer style, and just goes on down. Hey, if you're gonna die, you might as well die and having fun. And even though everybody either dies or is sucked away at the end, it did not end on a depressing note.
No.
And that's something that I find John Carpenter is very good at. Doing movies where a lot of the characters of the primary cast or the main character themselves die, but you don't feel depressed about it. Like, if they die, it usually always fits in his movies. And here, it felt just like everything played out the way it should.
Yeah. There was a certain amount of silliness. There was an ongoing feeling of just humor throughout the whole thing, and the futility of the whole existence.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it ended, it was like, yeah, their time had come, and even the cast members, nobody, the characters, even the characters, nobody was fighting it.
Just a fun little film made with very little and gives a whole lot back.
Yeah. Did quite a lot with almost nothing.
Not a bad first feature film for a legendary director. I should have said earlier, John Carpenter did make a couple of short films before Dark Star, but they were just short films. Although one of them, which he didn't direct but he co-wrote, did win an Oscar for Best Original Short Film. Called The Resurrection of Bronco Billy, I believe.
Okay.
Even though he wrote it, the Oscar went more to the producer or director he wasn't included as the winner.
Mm-hmm.
But still, you made a short film that won an Oscar. Cool.
Sure.
And I don't know exactly what John Carpenter's thoughts are today about Dark Star. I know Dan O'Bannon, before he died in 2009 from Crohn's disease, he had mixed feelings about Dark Star. Dan reportedly said, it went from what could have been the world's most impressive student film to the world's least impressive film.
Well, it's probably not the least impressive, but I understand what he's talking about. Yes, it was, like I said, it had to come off a little amateurish on the commercial market simply because of the funding and what they had to do to be able to tell a story, and so it's that's an understandable court, but it wasn't. It was fun.
Yeah, and there was a director's cut or a writer's cut made many years ago where they presented as the original student film without the stuff that Jack H. Harris had them put in. Most of the stuff that was added in was mostly the stuff with the electric asteroid field. And but personally I think that helped drive the plot, like gave more reasons for why things were going haywire.
Yeah.
And I know that John Carpenter did not get along the best with Jack H. Harris, and just as kind of an inside joke, in one of the scenes where we see a close-up of a computer screen flashing a bunch of words and data, apparently, I have not personally been able to find this because it apparently goes by so fucking fast, he put in, "Fuck you, Harris."
There you go.
After this, John Carpenter and Dan O'Bannon never really worked together again. It's been rumored that Dan O'Bannon became a little jealous of Carpenter's much more successful initial career. Like, it wasn't until Alien that Dan O'Bannon's really started to pick up.
Yeah. And I wouldn't know anything about that, but maybe not. It was a lot of fun, and I'll just say this: if you're the kind of if you like the kind of humor that has been in the ongoing Portlandia series, the kind of humor that's just there, it's situational, it just keeps creeping up on you, you will like the humor in this movie. It's good.
I think if you like good tongue-in-cheek humor, I think you'll like this. But as far as sci-fi comedies go, do not go in expecting Spaceballs. Also a good movie, but this is very different.
Very different.
I guess if I have one more trivia fact, it would be that before Doolittle surfs the debris down to the planet, one of the pieces of debris that flies by him, that if you pause, you can see it clearly written on it, is Toilet Tank THX 1138. Do you get the reference?
I thought it was just...
THX 1138 was the very first film that came out a few years before Dark Star to be ever directed by George Lucas. A subtle reference. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Goes right by, but if you pause, it's there. So, what was your favorite scene in Dark Star?
I'm not sure it was a scene, but it was a series of scenes where they're dealing with the bomb. It was written funny, the situation was funny, the two computers talking with each other was a good parody, and this bomb that gets fed up with it, okay, I'll go it, not going to do this again, then is reasoned with to the point where it's now confused and then decides it's God and blow everything up. That series of things, that was hilarious. And you?
It is an interesting series of events, all leading up to the big conclusion. My favorite scene, just because I think it's cool and kind of sweet, is when we see Doolittle after being annoyed by Pinback when they're on their rec time. Goes to this homemade amateur piano he's made. That was very creative, and many years ago, and it might still be in your basement, I tried to make my own wooden block piano. The most I got was a support and a wooden hammer on top that, if you pull the string, clamped down.
That's what that was, okay.
I never got far with it, but that's my favorite scene in the movie, and just pretty well done. And while we're on music, yes, John Carpenter scored this film as well, giving it his usual electric piano tune.
He did that, yes. Did he write the country western music, or was that somebody else's? Benson, Arizona.
Benson, Arizona. No, that was written and sung by, I'll put his name down here. I like it. It's a nice little song.
It's a nice contrast to technical, scientific space and western singing.
It's about all my thoughts, other than the acting is a little thick at times, but these guys were just making a student film, but their acting was not bad, just doesn't go too far. But these guys, I thought they were a good small cast of animated characters, just bored, dull, and on edge, sarcastic. And Dan O'Bannon, he did a fun job in his role as Pinback, especially when we find out the truth about him, that he's actually some poor guy named Bill Frug, actually named after Carpenter and O'Bannon's college professor, who just put on the real Sergeant Pinback's uniform.
I just want to say that I am not Sergeant Pinback. My real name is Bill Frug, and I'm a fuel maintenance technician. I've been on this mission now for 1 year and 3 months. Pinback
General Pinback apparently went insane, threw his uniform away, and he just put it on because he was in a dangerous area and he thought he would need it, and then someone saw him and like, come on, and just threw him on the ship. And throughout the film, Pinback, I'd say he had the most personality in that, like, he was depressed like everybody else, bored, but he was also whiny and just pouty and acted like he was better than everybody, or he felt like he was better, and he felt like everybody was dumping on him, just like, why?
He was not content.
I do not like the men on this spaceship. They are uncouth and fail to appreciate my better qualities. I have something of value to contribute to this mission if they would only recognize it. Today, over lunch, I tried to improve morale and build a sense of camaraderie among the men by holding a humorous round-robin discussion of the early days of the mission. My overtures were brutally rejected. These men do not want a happy ship. They are deeply sick and try to compensate by making me feel miserable.
Brian Norell he's the only actor of the cast that did multiple roles other than this. He played Doolittle. He had a good out of it performance, and my favorite moment with him was where they're talking about, what's Talby's first name? What's my first name?
It was very good.
These guys, I'm sure, give them a few more years, they would have gone completely insane.
Oh, they pretty much were. They were around the bend.
And there's not much to say about Cal Kunaholm as Boiler. He was just kind of there, a little bit of a hothead, and he smoked cigars, and he had a Fu Manchu mustache. He had a good fight scene with Pinback. And I love the image of them just on the floor with him grabbing his hair.
Attention. The bomb has returned to the bomb bay. The destruction sequence is aborted.
I guess the thing to end this video on is Dre Pak, who played Talby. I don't know if you could tell, but he was actually, the actor who played him was completely dubbed throughout the film.
No, I didn't know.
Apparently, Dre had a very thick accent that made him almost, I guess, unintelligible. So, his whole performance was dubbed over by none other than John Carpenter himself.
Lieutenant Doolittle, it just exploded. The planet just exploded, sir.
First film of one of my top 5 favorite film directors, and it's a great start to his career. I recommend it to everybody who's a fan of John Carpenter, who hasn't seen it, and if you're not a fan, I say see it and get into the man's work. I would give this film, just to be fair, because on the technical side, give it 7.8 out of 10. You?
Not that much, just simply because it didn't have... It was a lot of fun, but it was more of a student level film, and really not the same on a commercial market. But you don't sit there and hate seeing it. It's a lot of fun for what it is.
Bingo. Well, thanks for joining me once again, Guy. See you next time, everybody.